Liam never expected his quiet life to change. He was just a translator, not a famous one, not a rich one, just someone who loved learning languages. He worked from his small apartment on Earth, helping people talk across planets. Life was peaceful, if a little boring. But one morning, everything changed. A silver envelope appeared at his doorstep. No sound, no knock, just the envelope, glowing softly with the symbol of the Zurian Empire. A spiral of stars wrapped around a tree. Liam blinked. Was it a joke? He opened it. You are formally invited to attend the royal wedding of Princess Alari of Zuria. Transport and accommodation will be provided. Please prepare at once. There was no explanation, no reason. Just his name printed at the top, Liam of Earth. He almost threw it away, but something about it felt real. The seal, the writing, everything looked official. 2 days later, a sleek transport ship arrived above his city. Neighbors stared as Liam was guided on board. He didn't even pack much, just a simple suit, a notebook, and the strange invitation. The journey through space was smooth. The Zurian vessel hummed softly, like a calm river. The crew didn't speak much, but they were kind. They gave him tea that tasted like mint and stars, and a translator earpiece that worked better than anything on Earth. After 3 days, Liam saw Zuria for the first time. It was beautiful. The sky was a rich teal blue, deeper than any ocean on Earth. Floating gardens drifted in the air, glowing softly in the sunlight. The city below was full of golden towers, flowing bridges, and trees with silver leaves. The capital, Vilnara, looked like a dream. He was brought to a guest hall near the palace. Everything was elegant but simple. A smooth stone floor, silk curtains that danced in the wind, and flowers that gently changed color when you walked past them. Liam couldn't believe it. Why him? Why was a simple translator invited to a royal wedding? The next day, he joined the other guests in the palace courtyard. Nobles from other planets, ambassadors, artists, and scientists, all dressed in fine robes and gowns. Liam stood quietly in the back, feeling out of place in his plain gray suit. And then, she arrived, Princess Alari. She walked through the grand gates, her dress flowing like water, her hair woven with thin silver threads. Her eyes were calm and full of thought. She didn't smile much, but her presence felt warm. She had a soft, natural beauty that didn't need shining jewels or glowing lights. Her face was calm, kind, and thoughtful, like someone who saw the world in a different way. Liam had seen pictures of her before. Everyone had. But in person, she was something else. The crowd bowed. Liam followed. Alari gave a short speech, polite, traditional, and full of royal words. She thanked everyone for coming to her wedding. The ceremony would be in 5 days. Joining her and Lord Tovin, a noble from a powerful Zurian family. Liam didn't know anything about Lord Tovin, but the man looked sharp and proud. His eyes didn't smile. Later, as guests were led into the palace for a private welcome dinner, Liam was quietly left out. One of the Zurian attendants smiled and said, "Your seat is in the outer hall, Sir Liam." Liam didn't argue. He knew his place. He wasn't important. He was just the human guest, probably added as a symbol to show that Zuria respected all worlds. Still, the outer hall was peaceful. A small table by a fountain, soft music playing from glass instruments nearby. He ate slowly, looking up at the twin moons in the sky. Their light made the water sparkle. Suddenly, someone walked into the garden. Liam stood up quickly. It was her, Princess Alari. She didn't wear her crown now, just a simple white cloak over her dress. Her hair flowed freely. "I hope I'm not disturbing your dinner," she said softly. Liam stared. "Not at all. I mean, of course not, Your Highness." She smiled. "Not big, just a little. Please, just call me Alari. It's good to speak without titles sometimes." He nodded slowly, still unsure. "I'm Liam, from Earth." "I know," she said, sitting down across from him. "I asked for you." He blinked. "You asked for me?" "Yes," she replied. "I read your translations. The way you wrote. About language, about trust between worlds. It felt different, honest." Liam didn't know what to say. I've been surrounded by rules and plans my whole life, Alari continued. This wedding, it's supposed to bring peace. But no one asked what I feel, except you. In your writings, Liam looked at her. She wasn't pretending. She truly looked tired. Not of people, but of pressure. I didn't think my work reached anyone important, he said. Words always reach someone, Alari said. They talked for over an hour, not as princess and guest, but as to people who had lived very different lives. Liam told her about Earth, its problems, its beauty, its chaos and hope. Alari listened closely, like every word mattered. He didn't notice the stars above getting brighter. When she stood to leave, she said, I hope we speak again before the wedding. I'd like that, Liam said quietly, and as she walked away, her cloak moving softly in the breeze, Liam felt something new in his chest. He didn't know what it was, but something had started. The next morning, Liam woke early. Even though the palace grounds were quiet, his thoughts were loud. He kept thinking about his meeting with Princess Alari. It didn't feel real. She had spoken to him like an old friend. She had laughed softly, asked questions, and listened, really listened. He wondered if it was just a dream. To clear his head, Liam decided to walk through the royal gardens. The sky was still soft and pale, the sun's not yet high. A light breeze moved through the silver trees, and the air smelled like fresh leaves and sweet fruit. The garden was large, like a quiet farce made of beauty, trees with twisting branches, floating flowers, and soft blue grass. Small white birds flew above, singing songs that sounded like music. As Liam walked, he found a narrow stone path hidden behind a curtain of hanging vines. Curious, he stepped through. It led to a small private garden. There was a smooth bench beside a pond, where tiny light fish swam in slow circles. The place was peaceful, untouched by noise or ceremony, and there, standing near the water, was Alari. She turned as she heard the sound of his steps. Instead of being surprised, she smiled gently. You found my quiet spot, she said. Liam froze for a second. I didn't mean to. I was just walking. I didn't know this was private. She shook her head. You're welcome here. He relaxed and stepped closer, careful not to disturb anything. Alari looked at the pond. When I was a child, I used to come here and hide from my lessons. The guards would panic, but this place always made me feel calm. Liam sat on the far end of the bench, giving her space. I can see why. There was a long moment of silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. I'm glad you came, she said softly. Not many people speak to me like you do. I don't know how to speak to a princess, Liam replied. I just speak to people. She smiled at that. Alari picked a small blue flower from a vine and held it in her hand. My wedding is in 3 days, she said, almost to herself. Liam looked at her. Are you happy about it? She didn't answer right away. It's my duty, she said finally. Our families have planned it for years. It's meant to bring unity between houses, keep the peace. But what about your choice? He asked gently. Alari's fingers touched the petals of the flower. Choice is something I've never truly had. Liam looked away. The moment felt too heavy. He didn't want to say the wrong thing, but then he remembered something from Earth. In my culture, he said, some people say a wedding is a promise between hearts, not just a plan between families. Alari looked at him. That sounds nice, she said, but hard to find in places like this. They talked more about simple things, about Earth's trees and Zuria's music, about stories, food, and dreams. Alari told him how she always wanted to travel, to walk among the cities without guards and titles. Liam shared how he once got lost in a jungle during a language trip and had to sleep in a tree. To avoid water bugs, she laughed for the first time, a real laugh. You are strange, Liam, she said with a smile, but in a good way. I'll take that as a compliment, he said. As the sun rose higher, a soft bell rang in the distance. Alari stood. That means I'm expected for morning council. She turned to. The palace of Zuria was full of light and color. Banners floated from the golden towers. Musicians played soft music in the courtyards. Workers decorated walls with shining stones. The royal wedding was only 2 days away, and the whole capital, Vilnara, was preparing. But not everyone was smiling. Liam walked slowly through the palace garden, his mind full of thoughts. He had met Princess Allari 3 times now in her hidden garden. Each time, they spoke longer, shared more, and grew closer. Allari was kind, thoughtful, and strong, but something about her was changing. She seemed worried. That morning, when Liam asked her how she felt about the wedding, she only gave a quiet answer. Some things feel wrong, but I cannot speak them aloud. Not yet. Her words stayed in Liam's mind. Later that day, Liam was walking through a quiet hallway near the council chamber. He wasn't trying to spy. He was just looking for a library he'd seen on the map. But then he heard 2 voices from behind a large silver door. He recognized one of them, Lord Tovin, the man Allari was supposed to marry. The other voice was unknown, cold and sharp. Liam paused beside a curtain, not close enough to see, but near enough to hear. "We have everything we need," the unknown voice said. "Once the marriage is done, you'll gain access to the Unity codes," Tovin replied, "and after that, full control of the royal network. The council won't resist once I have the authority." Liam's heart froze. Unity codes, royal network. The voices continued, lower now, but Liam understood enough. This was not just a wedding. It was a plan, a quiet, dangerous plan. Tovin wanted power, and Allari, she was just the key. Liam stepped back carefully, his thoughts racing. He had to tell someone. But who would believe a simple human guest? He couldn't go to the guards. They followed Tovin's orders. The council, too risky. They were divided in loyalty. He had only one choice. That evening, Liam returned to the secret garden. The sun was low, and the sky was painted in orange and soft teal. He waited by the pond, pacing quietly. Finally, he saw her. Allari walked in, her face calm as always. But her eyes showed she had been thinking deeply. "You came early," she said. "I needed to," Liam said. "There's something I have to tell you." She walked closer. "What is it?" Liam took a breath and told her everything. The voices, the words, the plan. He didn't hide anything. Allari listened without interrupting. When he finished, she looked away for a long moment. "I feared this," she said softly. "You knew?" Liam asked. "I didn't know the details," she replied. "But I felt it. Tovin acts sweet in public, but in private, he is cold. He speaks of duty, but never of peace, never of kindness." She sat by the edge of the pond, silent. "I don't want to marry him," she said. "Not because I'm afraid, but because I do not want to help someone like him rise to power." Liam sat beside her. "You can still stop it," he said. She looked at him, sadness and hope in her eyes. "There's only one way." Allari explained the ancient Unity law, a forgotten Zurian rule. It allowed a royal to choose a life partner from any world, even without council approval, but only if the marriage happened during a royal ceremony. It was old, risky, and rarely used. "If I use it," Allari said, "I lose the support of many noble houses. I may even lose my crown. But I will stop Tovin." Liam was quiet for a moment. "Then, who would you choose?" Allari turned to him. "You." The air was still. Liam's heart beat loudly in his chest. "Me," she nodded. "You are not from my world. You don't play their games. You speak truthfully, even when you're unsure. I trust you, and I feel something when I am with you." Liam didn't know what to say. He was just a translator. He never imagined something like this, but deep inside, he felt it too. "I don't know if I'm ready for this," he said honestly. "But if you believe in me, then I will stand with you." The next day was meant to be the rehearsal for the royal wedding. The palace was full of light, song, and important guests. But something unexpected happened. As the ceremony began, Princess Allari stepped forward, her voice strong and clear. "People of Zuria, honored guests, I come before you with truth. I will not marry Lord Tovin." Gasps filled the hall. Tovin stood frozen. The council whispered. The nobles looked confused. This decision is mine alone. She continued, I invoke the unity law. I choose my own path. I choose my own heart. And then she turned. Liam stood at the edge of the hall, uncertain. But when she looked at him, he stepped forward. The crowd moved aside as he walked to her side. Allari took his hand. I choose Liam of Earth. The hall was silent. Some were shocked, some were angry. But many were curious. The old law was real. The records proved it. And no one could stop the ceremony now. The council paused the event, calling for a full meeting. Allari and Liam were escorted back to their quarters. They would have to wait outside. The people of Zuria spoke in quiet voices. Some laughed, some frowned, but others smiled. For the first time in years, something new had happened. Something brave. That night, Allari and Liam stood on the balcony, looking at the stars. Whatever happens tomorrow, Allari said, thank you for helping me find my voice. Liam looked at her with a soft smile, and thank you for hearing mine. Above them, the stars of two worlds glowed together. The palace of Zuria was no longer peaceful. The quiet halls now echoed with the voices of nobles, council members, and royal guards. Everyone was talking about one thing. Princess Allari's decision to break her arranged marriage and choose a human instead. Some called it brave. Others called it madness. In the highest tower of the palace, the royal council had gathered. 12 members sat around a round table made of crystal stone. At the center stood Allari and Liam. The air was tense. One council member, an elder named Vorin, spoke with a serious tone. Princess Allari, you use the unity law. It is old and rarely used. Are you certain of this decision? Allari stood tall. I am. I chose Liam not because he is human, but because I trust him with my heart and with the future of Zuria. Another council member, Lady Risha, looked at Liam. And you? Liam of Earth, you are not from our world. You hold no rank. Why do you accept this bond? Liam took a deep breath. I never planned for this. I didn't come here to take a crown or a title. But I believe in Allari. I believe in what she stands for. And if she asks me to stand beside her, I will. The council fell into silence. They could not deny the law. Allari had followed every rule. But this was new, strange, and dangerous too. Many of them, we must vote, Savioa ran out outside the tower. The news had already reached the people of Velnara. Crowds gathered near the palace gates. Some held banners of support, others shouted in confusion. But more than anything, they waited, curious, uncertain, and hopeful. A new future was being decided. Back in her chamber, Allari sat by the window, watching the twin moons rise. Liam stood nearby, quiet. The vote would come in the morning. Are you nervous? She asked. He nodded. Yes, a little. She gave a small smile. I am too, but not because of the council. Then why? Allari looked at him. Because I have never done something so bold before. Choosing my own path, it feels like walking on air, exciting and frightening at the same time. Liam sat across from her. Where I come from, we say sometimes the right path is not the easy one. She nodded. That sounds true. They sat in silence for a while, watching the stars. The closeness between them felt stronger than before. Not just words, something deeper. A connection that no law or crown could make or break. Early the next morning, a soft knock came at the door. It was Councillor Vorin, with a scroll in his hand. The vote is complete, he said. Allari stood, her hands calm but her eyes focused. The council has chosen, Vorin continued. 7 votes in favor, 5 against. Your marriage to Liam will be allowed under the unity law. Liam let out a slow breath. But, Vorin added, you must know. Some houses will no longer support you. There may be trouble in the coming weeks, but the people, they are watching. Many support your decision. Allari thanked him and closed the door gently. She turned to Liam with a quiet smile. We have their blessing. Now, we must have our wedding. The palace bells rang softly across the capital city of Velnara. But today, the sound was different. It was not loud or proud. It was peaceful, almost gentle. The royal wedding was about to begin. But this was not the wedding anyone had expected. Princess Alari, the future queen of Zuria, was not marrying a noble, a warrior, or a ruler from another world. She was marrying a simple human man, Liam, a translator from Earth. No title, no army, just a kind heart and an honest soul. The sky above was clear, with twin suns shining side by side. A soft breeze moved through the palace gardens, carrying the scent of silver flowers and floating petals. The ceremony would take place outside, in the circle of peace, a sacred space used only for the most special occasions. It was built from smooth white stone, shaped in a perfect circle, with a glowing crystal tree in the center. Hundreds of guests stood around it, nobles, council members, common citizens, and visitors from across the stars, even leaders from nearby planets had come to see this unique moment in Zuria's history. Some faces were filled with wonder, some with confusion, but most watched in silence, waiting to see what would happen next. Liam stood at one end of the circle. His clothes were a mix of Earth and Zurian style, a simple black suit, but with blue lines of light running across it, showing unity between two worlds. His heart beat fast, but his hands stayed calm. He had no crown, no title, but he had something stronger. He had earned the princess's trust. Then came the sound of soft music. A group of Zurian singers began to hum a melody that sounded like the wind through trees and stars in the sky. From the other end of the circle, Alari appeared. She wore a flowing white and silver dress. It was simple but full of meaning. The design showed the symbols of Zuria's history, peace, growth, and unity. A small silver crown rested on her head, shaped like the wings of a dove. The people gasped quietly as they saw her walk. She didn't walk like a princess. She walked like a person who had chosen her own path, strong and free. Liam couldn't take his eyes off her, and she looked only at him. When they met in the center of the circle, the glowing tree shone brighter. It was said to react to truth. And in that moment, the light was warm and steady. A quiet voice spoke. It was Elder Vorn, standing as the ceremony guide. Today, we witness not just a wedding, but a bridge. Between worlds, between hearts. He looked at Alari. Do you, Princess Alari, choose this path with your full heart, your own will, and your trust? Alari nodded. I do. He turned to Liam. And do you, Liam of Earth, accept this bond not for power, not for name, but for love and unity? Liam smiled gently. I do. The tree's light grew brighter. Then came the joining crystal, a clear gem held by two small wings. It floated in the air between them. Alari and Liam placed their hands on it. The gem glowed softly and then broke into two pieces, each half wrapping around their fingers, forming simple glowing rings. It was done. They were now joined by choice, by law, and by heart. The crowd remained silent for a moment. Then slowly, clapping began. Soft at first, then louder. Soon, the air was full of cheers, music, and color. 1,000 floating lights rose into the sky. It was not a traditional royal wedding. It was something new. After the ceremony, a gentle celebration began. Tables filled with food from both Zuria and Earth were set in the gardens. Children danced. Round the tree, people laughed, talked, and smiled. Even some of the nobles who had been against the marriage began to see things differently. Alari and Liam sat together under the crystal tree. They didn't need to speak much. Their eyes held all the words. Alari looked around and said, I never thought I would feel so free on my wedding day. Liam smiled. And I never thought I'd be married to a princess. She laughed softly. You're more than that now. You are part of Zuria. Liam nodded. And you're a part of Earth. Together, maybe we can show both worlds something better. In the distance, Lord Tovin watched from a high balcony. He said nothing. His plan had failed. His path to power was gone for now. But deep inside, he was not finished. His eyes narrowed slightly. This is not the end, he whispered. But down in the garden, none of that mattered yet. The people of Zuria were celebrating something new, something hopeful. A story they would tell for generations. A human had married an alien princess not for power, but for love. And for the first time in years, the stars above Zuria seemed to shine a little brighter. For a few peaceful days, the city of Vilnara was full of joy. People sang songs about the royal wedding. Children wore blue flowers in their hair to honor Princess Allari and her new husband, Liam. Merchants named cakes and drinks after the couple. Even the stars above seemed to twinkle with pride. But not everyone was smiling. In the shadows of the tall towers, a storm was quietly building. One morning, a messenger arrived at the palace gates holding a scroll with a red seal. It was from House Varnuk, the family of Lord Tovin, the noble who had once been promised to marry Allari. The message was short. We challenge the unity bond. The marriage is false. The human must face the trial of unity. Let the truth be tested before all. The council was called immediately. Voices rose. Hands slammed tables. This is a direct challenge, said Elder Vorin. But according to law, they have the right to request a trial. Allari stood calmly, but her eyes were sharp. What is the trial of unity? Vorin explained. It is an ancient test. If anyone believes a royal bond was made unfairly, they may demand a trial. The chosen partner Liam must face 3 parts: wisdom, truth, and heart. Liam listened carefully. I'm not a fighter, he said. What kind of trial is this? Not a battle, Vorin replied. But it is not easy. The next day, the people gathered at the Hall of Light, a large open space filled with glowing stones. It was a sacred place, used only for serious matters. Liam stood in the center, wearing simple robes. Allari stood at the edge, not allowed to help. She could only watch. 3 crystal pillars stood before him, each holding a different task. From the shadows, Lord Tovin watched with a cold expression. His arms were crossed, but his eyes showed a spark of anger. If Liam failed, the marriage would be broken. Allari would return to royal control, and Tovin would have another chance at power. The first trial, wisdom, a voice echoed through the hall. Answer this. 2 planets need the same rare crystal. One needs it for medicine, the other for power. You have only 1 crystal. What do you do? Liam thought hard. He knew this was not a question with one perfect answer. He stepped forward and said, I give it to the planet that needs it for medicine, because saving life is more important than gaining power. And I promise to help the other planet find a new way to build power without harm. The pillar glowed blue. The crowd whispered. The judges nodded. Liam had passed the first test. The second trial, truth's second pillar showed a vision, Earth, his home. A soft voice asked, Liam, speak truthfully. Have you ever lied to someone you cared about? Liam paused, then said, yes, once. I told my younger sister that our parents would come home soon, even when I knew they wouldn't. I didn't want her to cry. The pillar turned white. The voice replied, why did you tell the truth now? Liam said, because real unity comes from truth, not perfection, and I will always be honest with Allari. The pillar gave off a soft tone of approval. Second test passed. The final pillar glowed golden. Soft light filled the hall as Liam's words echoed. I see a soul that wants peace, not control. I see someone who chooses kindness when others choose fear. That is why I love her. The silence in the hall of light was deep and long. Then, one by one, the elders stood. Each placed their hand over their heart. A soft bell rang. The trial of unity was complete. Liam had passed all 3 tests. The people watching from the crystal balconies broke into cheers. Many who once doubted now clapped with smiles. Even some of the noble families who had spoken against the wedding began to nod with quiet respect. Allari rushed forward, joy shining in her eyes. You did it, she said softly. Liam smiled. I didn't do it alone. Lord Tovin said nothing. His chance was lost. He turned and left the hall without a word, followed by a few silent supporters. His power was fading, and he knew it. But Allari didn't look back. She held Liam's hand, and together they stepped out of the hall into the sunlight. In the days that followed, something began to change on Zuria. For years, the nobles and council had made decisions. They had lived by old rules, old plans, old fears. But now, the people started speaking louder. They wanted new voices. They wanted a future built on trust, not tradition alone. At the heart of that hope stood a pair, Allari, the princess turned. Queen Liam, the human turned partner. Alari's first action as queen was simple, but powerful. She created the Unity Council, a group made up of nobles, workers, teachers, artists, and even off-world citizens, including from Earth. Liam became the first human ambassador to Zuria, not because of his marriage, but because of his heart, his honesty, and his ability to listen. I will not rule from a throne, Alari said in her first speech as queen. I will walk beside my people, and beside the one I chose not by law, but by love, her words were remembered across galaxies. As time passed, Earth and Zuria began a deep friendship. Student exchanges opened, art and music were shared. New space routes were created between the two worlds, and people from other planets started visiting Zuria more often, not as guests, but as friends. Liam worked on a language program that helped species understand each other better. He called it the Star Bridge Project. Alari helped launch the Peace Garden Initiative, planting trees on war-touched planets as a symbol of new beginnings. They traveled together often. On one trip to Earth, Liam took Alari to his old village. She walked through forests and sat by rivers, asking questions, smiling at every child who came to greet her. The people loved her not because she was royal, but because she was kind. Back on Zuria, Liam learned the soft art of singing stones and how to fly low-glide leaf ships. He often laughed with Zurian children, showing them how Earth people played football and cooked warm bread. They lived in the palace, yes, but they also spent time in small towns, visiting farms and healing centers. To the people, they were more than a queen and her consort. They were a symbol of peace, a symbol that love between two different worlds could bloom. One evening, years later, they stood on their balcony beneath the twin moons. The city below was peaceful, filled with light. The stars above shimmered. Liam looked at Alari and said, "Do you remember the garden where we first talked?" She smiled. "Yes. You were standing by the fish pond, looking lost. And you were the princess who didn't feel like one." He said, "And now I'm the queen," she replied, gently leaning her head on his shoulder. "Yes," Liam said, "but to me, you're still the girl who picked the blue flower and said I was strange." She laughed softly. "You still are." They stood like that for a while, just breathing in the quiet of the night. No noise, no crowds, just the sound of wind through the leaves, and for a moment, it didn't matter that one was from Earth and the other from Zuria. They were simply two souls who had found each other, against every rule, against every plan, because of trust, because of heart. And that is the tale the stars now tell, of the human who married the alien princess, and together changed the course of two worlds.